Sam Bankman-Fried has finally been sentenced for his cryptocurrency scam. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, also known as SBF, finally being sentenced to 25 years in the penitentiary, making big rocks to little rocks for his cryptocurrency scam. Now, in case you need a quick refresher, a reminder, let's get to that first. Then we're going to get into the article. Then we're going to get into the video. Then we're going to get into the full story of what happened here today. Now, let's back up. Sam Bankman-Fried started the FTX crypto exchange, and the idea was you as a consumer would give them money and they would invest your money into crypto the same way you would give to a stockbroker to invest in stocks. The problem is that up to $8 billion with a B, $8 billion of customer money was quote unquote misappropriated, really stolen, used for other purposes that were not to invest in cryptocurrency. This guy was giving money to politicians, funding campaigns, buying real estate for himself and his family. I mean, all types of stuff. Okay. And there were a bunch of celebrities roped up in this. I think you had Tom Brady and Giselle. Shaq might have been involved, Steph Curry. And when I say involved, I mean marketing, advertising, things of this nature. It was really attractive. He got a bunch of press, but ultimately the money kind of went up in smoke. It was a bunch of fraud. And as a result of this fraud, he's been given 25 years in the penitentiary. Now, as of today, he is 32 years old, so he'll get out in his 50s. Now, I did not say an exact age, like 57, 25, 32, because in the feds, you do 80 to 85% of your time. And if that's wrong, y'all let me know in the comments. But he'll be in the penitentiary for quite a while, and I think that it's appropriate, 100%, because the scope, I mean, you're talking about stealing billions of dollars from the American people or from everybody else worldwide. This is really crazy. And he used it for other purposes. See, it's one thing to have a company that fails. If he started FTX and he had all the intentions to do the right thing and use money for the intended purpose, see, that's not really what happened. He was taking the money and doing other things with it, starting other companies, investing in real estate for himself, spending money on a lavish lifestyle. That is what he did. That's straight up fraud. You can't do things like that. All right. Now, before we get into an actual video, let's get to an article right here. You see, this is your man, Sam Bankman-Fried, who looks identical. When I say identical, I mean identical to Bernie Madoff when Bernie Madoff was his age. Now, don't nobody try to say I'm being anti-Semitic. I'm just stating out an obvious fact. If you say I'm a liar, you're a liar, but I digress. You see the headline on AP Associated Press: fallen crypto mogul Sam Bankman-Fried sentenced to 25 years in the penitentiary. Make a big rocks of little rocks. So let's go here and read some of this. We're going to get to the video. Crypto entrepreneur Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced Thursday to 25 years in prison for a massive fraud that unraveled with the collapse of FTX, once one of the world's most popular platforms for exchanging digital currency. There's another one popular like that called Binance, and they might be next, because really, at the end of the day, a crypto exchange platform, if you have a bunch of money on it, it's probably fraud, in my opinion. I'm not necessarily against crypto or blockchain, the technology, but I mean, at a certain point, it's just not really real. Let's keep on going. Bankman-Fried, 32, was convicted in November of fraud and conspiracy, a dramatic fall from a crest of success that included a Super Bowl advertisement and celebrity endorsements from stars like quarterback Tom Brady, basketball player Steph Curry, and comedian Larry David. U.S. District Judge Lewis A. Kaplan imposed a sentence in the same Manhattan courtroom where 4 months ago, Bankman-Fried testified his intention had been to revolutionize the emerging crypto market with his innovative and altruistic ideas, not to steal. Well, again, if that was your intention, then why were you buying houses all over the world, Bahamas, things of this nature? Why were you doing that with the money? Why were you starting new things with the money? When you take money for one purpose, from people like in the business and use it for a different purpose, that's called fraud. You can't do that. And there was also back in November the issue of the politicos getting money from Sam Bankman-Fried, but that was not really, that was like thrown under the table. That wasn't really a big deal. The politicos have their own system of justice, but I digress. Kaplan said the sentence reflected that there is a risk that this man will be in position to do something very bad in the future, and it's not a trivial risk at all. He added that it was for the purpose of disabling him to the extent that can appropriately be done for a significant period of time. That makes sense. Let's get to a video here. This was before the actual sentencing, but it kind of tells you a lot about what's going on.
Joining us this morning from our D.C. Bureau, former SEC prosecutor Jacob Frenkel. Jacob, it's great to see you again. Good morning.
Good to see you again. How are you?
Good to see you. Yeah, a lot of things that the judge has to consider, the perjury element, the deterrence element. You think it's going to be something more like 30?
I think we're looking at least 30 years. For the judge to come out as he did, basically opening saying perjury, the jury came back in hours. I mean, the defense argument not being taken as credible, I think it clearly portends, in my mind, a 30-plus year sentence. The other thing we have to keep in mind is this is a criminal case, so there are two components. One is punitive, punishing Sam Bankman-Fried for what he did. The other is deterrence, and that is there is a crypto-enamored generation that is paying close attention to what this judge does, and he really is going to want to send a message as well.
Let's pause right here. Now, that is a really good point about sending a message. Some are going to take that the wrong way. Some are going to say that it's a message against crypto, that it's a stay on the dollar, don't go anywhere else. It's not even really about that. It's about the fraud part, because ultimately what happened here was people were sending their actual currency, their US dollars, probably mostly, and expecting the money to be invested into crypto. But what ended up happening was the actual dollars were used for other things, for real estate, for things of this nature, not for cryptocurrency. That's the actual fraud here.
Which is there will be a long sentence if you commit fraud, regardless of what is the type of currency or what is the security.
So on that note, compare and contrast for us the scale of his crime and punishment versus Bernie Madoff. Is there an element, as you kind of alluded to there, that they want to make a bit of an example out of him?
It's a great question, but I really don't see Madoff and Bankman-Fried as comparable, because
they're very comparable in my opinion. But let's see what he says as far as an explanation as to why they're not comparable.
Because I really viewed Madoff as the ultimate Ponzi scheme. Here you're talking about, as the government characterized it, this was a fraud. Basically he took money, used it for himself, used it for other purposes, and lied to investors about it. I think it's really more, in some respects, a generational prosecution, and that's why I think the judge is also very much going to have in mind the level of attention that's going to be paid to a sentence. There's no way he's going to impose a sentence of 100 years or something outlandish as was imposed on Bernie Madoff, as we talked about here many years ago. But I do think it's going to be.
Now, with the Bernie Madoff thing, that was like really kind of like life altering. I mean, how many billions did he have? And what he did, like he said, it was a Ponzi scheme. He would take money from investors to pay off other investors. That was his thing. But in the case of SBF, he was taking money and spending it on whatever he wanted to spend, real estate, like stuff like that. Now, I'm not quite sure what Bernie Madoff purchased, but I'm sure there are a few watches and cigars and cars in his closet, but I digress.
Substantial because of the scrutiny and the attention this decision is going to get. But at the same time, it's going to come down well below the federal sentencing guidelines, because the judge also knows he needs to build the perfect record for the appeal, because the sentence, as well as the verdict, will be appealed.
What about the defense argument that the FTX victims did not suffer major losses? Is that likely?
That's crazy. You're talking about $8 billion. Now, did they get all the money back? I don't think so.
Did it work? Is that true?
Well, number one, I think I think a speculative argument, is not going to impact the judge's decision whatsoever with respect to sentencing. That's my prediction. The other thing is, it's not as if Sam Bankman-Fried actually provided restitution, to the victims. We're talking about what may happen as a result of the bankruptcy. The judge is going to look at the conduct at the time for which he was prosecuted. So I don't think that defense argument is going to hold water with this judge.
Yeah, I don't know about that because, even if he's able to pay money, it's not going to be $8 billion. A lot of the money is gone and you really can't retrieve it. So people did lose quite a bit as a result of this. So I don't even understand that argument. That's pretty weird. I'll leave it right there. There's a little bit more to the video from CNBC, but of course I will link to everything in the description box. But yeah, Sam Bankman-Fried, 25 years in the penitentiary. Fed time probably got to do 80-85%, so he'll be out in his 50s. I think that's an appropriate punishment. Bernie Madoff was already old anyway when he got locked up, so if he got 25 years, this still would have been the same kind of life sentence situation. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to Sam Bankman-Fried for getting locked up. He's very lucky to only get to 25 years because there were other things. See, this is just for the fraud, but there was also the political part of it where he was giving money to politicians. Now, there's nothing as far as any kind of criminal action, civil action, nothing as far as that goes. And again, you knew that it wasn't going to be because they have their own system of justice that's different from you and I. So to get 25 years for the fraud and that's it, he's pretty lucky. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? Do you think that 25-year sentence is appropriate, inappropriate? Should he have gotten more, less? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. The sentence for the conviction, in my opinion, is appropriate. But I think there should have been more when you're talking about the political part, because we can't really ignore that. He stole a bunch of money and gave it to politicians. I mean, come on. Are you trying to bribe people? Is that what was happening? I think that he did try to do that. I think that was in discovery, that he was trying to bribe people, pay them off. So that should have been part of it, although it wasn't. So he's lucky to get the time that he got. But again, the time that he got is appropriate for his actual conviction. Whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.